You have to overcome this fear. And sometimes I wonder like what I'm gonna do in my life afterwards, knowing that in a way I'm probably addicted to like overcoming this fear.
So what separates high diving?
There's regular diving, so it's either springboard diving, which is 1 meter, and 3 meter, which you'll see at the Olympics, and then there's platform diving, which is 10 meter, and that's the highest it is at the Olympics. And then high diving for the females, it's 20 meters, and for the males, it's 27 meters. So it's double the height for the females. Another main difference is that we don't land head first, we land feet first.
For me sitting at home, like, all right, 10 meters, 20 meters, like that doesn't sound like a crazy deal. But I'm assuming from your facial expression that that's a big difference.
It takes a lot longer, and you start to fall faster. So whatever like trick or dive you're doing, you can't like double the amount of flips that you do from 10 to 20 because you start falling faster, and the impact is just a lot harder as well than from 10 meter.
Are there people who can do 10 meters no problem and can't do 20 or higher?
Oh, yes, like I think more or less 95% of the Olympic divers that dive 10 meter will just laugh at you when you ask them to jump off 20 meters.
How did you then transition into the higher dives?
My husband and I, back then, we were dating, and we found out there was like diving in a show, and we had never even heard of it. And it was on a cruise ship. We're like, let's try this. And on the ship, it's 17 meters, and we were regular divers. But that's when we first learned about high diving. And then we found out there were some people competing, and we slowly but surely like started learning high dives. Like we made our way up there, and even like to get a full competitive list, it took at least 3 years after like doing our first dive up there. But when you're just learning in a show, I mean, it's sketchy.
Yeah, what was that first couple of times like when
It's something like you have to overcome this fear, and sometimes I wonder like what I'm gonna do in my life afterwards, knowing that in a way I'm probably addicted to like overcoming this fear, like learning new dives is such a buildup of emotions, and like getting that dive, like getting it off, and that alone sounds funny, like getting it off, like you just have to jump and go, but getting your body to do something that there's so much fear like holding you back. And I guess that's natural, your body's like protecting you. I guess your mind is saying like this is dangerous, don't do it, don't do it. But you have to trust that one, your body knows what to do because you've trained all the elements like separately on lower heights before. And then I mean, I tell myself, okay, like you've gone through all the steps. You've made all the preparations. This is it. This is what you worked for. Like, gotta do it. And still, like sometimes you stand there and you just freeze. But when you do it, the best feeling. It really is.
I could see people getting addicted to that?
And I don't like to say like, oh, I'm addicted to it, but the reality is like probably. I mean, there's no other feeling. Like, there's no feeling in the world I can compare it with. It's just like
Like, yeah, like I did it.
I did it. Like pat on the back for me. But for real,
Do you still feel like that every time? Like any jump?
not any jump. Um, it does. I don't want to say it goes away. It's still, the fear is there, and you still have to be alert because, and I think that's when accidents happen, like if you lose that fear completely, if you just nonchalantly go up there and throw your dives. I think it's good to have like a little bit of fear, but it's nothing like that first time.
So then how do you learn new dives? You just do you can you practice lower or it's like no, you just got to do it off the big one and go for it.
Now I'm in a very fortunate situation that I'm training here in Fort Lauderdale. This is only one of three permanent platforms in the world, So the good thing is we have access to a full range of towers. That's 1 meter, 3 meter, sorry, 5 meter, 7 meter, 10 meter, and that's 10 meters the Olympic height. Then we have a 15, 20, 24, 27 for the men. But yeah, there's just a process involved. Like, okay, you go through all the steps, and you got to be able to do it in your head first. See it, like see the full trick. If you don't see it, don't go up. Don't go up. Make sure you can see it in your head, and then go through all the physical training. And then it's like you piece the things together. So, like I said, like from 1.5, you need to be able to do that on 10 meter before you go up for a front double with a half twist on 20 meters.
But that difference in height doesn't like throw the whole timing off.
Um, it shouldn't. There's a bit of a, you know, trust fall in that sense that you have to go up and trust that your body's going to know what to do with those extra 10 meters.
So at the end of it, you do have to just like, all right, now just go for it.
Yeah. And there's certain dives where you feel like you break through a barrier, I feel like, like you learn, your double halves, your Baranis, but then once you learn a triple half, you do multiple flips, you come out and do the Barani, and I feel like that's like unlocking another level of like a range of dives altogether. And once you know you can do that, then okay, if I make this dive on 10 meter to my head, I can do this up on 20 meters. And I think that confidence, like once you've done that, and this sounds so funny, it sounds like a video game, like I unlocked a new level. But once you've done that, you trust that your body will see the dive on 10 meter, see the water, and then know, okay, I need to Barani to safely land at my feet.
So what happens if you screw one of these up?
Oh, it's not good. It's not good. Um, I mean, I've taken my fair share of hits, I think. I've learned a new dive, and actually coming right back to what we just spoke about, like, okay, you do it on 10 meter, you see the water, on 10 meter, you dive it in. Now you go up to 20 meter, you see the water, and I remember I learned this dive, and I was so relieved to see the water. I was like, oh my God, I did it. And I didn't actively like work the rest of the dive. So I landed like quite short, and I just had like two black eyes under my chin, my arm. Like, I mean, not most likely, most definitely had a concussion. But I feel like in the sport of diving, this happens so much that people have a concussion. And like, I mean, I went up and did another dive before I went and iced my eyes, and like, it was bad. My husband was like, we can't go anywhere. Can you please put sunglasses on? They're gonna think I'm beating you up. Another example, my husband, who's also a cliff diver, he did a quint half, so that's 5 somersaults with a half twist.
Oh God.
Oh God, yeah. So
No.
he's only, I think there's been 3 guys in the world to do this dive, and he's currently the only one in competition doing this dive. So it's a long time to hold on. Like, think about 5 flips holding on, and he was doing great. He was doing it in the Red Bull competition. I'm gonna nail it. And just the anticipation of getting a good entry had him come out early. And he landed very short, and he just passed out. So he passed out underwater, and the scuba divers had to pick him up and bring him to the surface. And I was watching, and I felt so helpless, I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And I remember thinking, like, once I got to him, because they took him off in a boat, and I had to like try and find him afterwards, and he was with the ambulance people, and he was strapped in. He was okay. He was awake, and but it just broke my heart to see him like this. And I remember coming up to him, and I was like, what were you thinking? This is 5 flips. Do not come out early.
It's such a married couple thing. It's like the first thing, like you do something, and the first thing you're thinking is like, "Oh God, they're gonna be mad at me."
I know. And actually, I felt so bad. What broke my heart most is that he probably was so embarrassed, embarrassed that that happened at that event with all the cameras and stuff. But Um, I was just glad he was okay, like so many things. He had like kind of bruised his ribs, but everything internally was okay. And if you take a hit from that high, like there's a lot more things that can go wrong.
Is it enough of an impact that you kind of have to limit like how many dives you're doing a day or a week or
I try to do a maximum of three per training session, and that's actually a lot. I think most people don't even always go up to 20 meter um, every training session. I just know for me, like I like to get the reps in and get very comfortable and confident with my dives. Um, but I think, I mean, I've done sometimes you do up to 6 reps, especially competition day, if you warm up and then you do your competition dives and stuff. But it really does take a toll on your body. Like the next day, your legs are going to be sore. We'll make it a point to take an ice bath right afterwards, just because even if you have a good entry, your legs take such an impact that your calves can get really sore. If you land like a little bit short or a little bit over your neck muscles, like you got to make sure your neck muscles are, it's like a whiplash if you land wrong. So actually, my neck's quite tight as we speak.
I really thought you were going to say like 20 or 25.
Oh no. If you go back into the pool like 3 more times that week. So that's like maybe 10 a week. I think 10 a week should probably be your max.
So I'm kind of a numbers person. I hope this question makes sense in the regard that, okay,
Yeah.
so let's say 10 out of 10 is the perfect landing.
Yeah.
You need to be what on a scale of 1 to 10 so that it doesn't like mess you up?
You need to specify and mess you up. Like if you mean like my neck is sore, I had great entries yesterday, but it just happens. Like it's the difference from like landing with your head tucked in and like your head out. It's just like a punch in the chin. Yeah, I don't want to say 10 out of 10, but okay, even if you have a 9 entry, you can still like technically hurt yourself, I guess.
Has anybody ever died doing it?
Not in the professional sense, but I'm sure it has happened off that height as well. Yeah.
So like when you make an entry into there, are you kind of like tightening the whole body?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you see a picture, every muscle is tight. It's crazy. Not to mention the beautiful face going in the water.
Pure grimace.
Everything needs to be tight because you need to attack the water. Because if not, the water is going to attack you and just literally destroy you.
So you're kind of trying to like actively hit the water.
Yes. Yeah. And you can see the difference. Like sometimes, you just kind of, the water hits you and it can really like cause you to move in ways that you don't want to move underwater. Like you need to be tight and attack the water.
What do you think makes you good at it? Like what separates you from other people who do it?
Gosh, this is such a hard question. Um, I don't know. Like I have the diving background and then I transitioned to high diving. So it was still all over the place a little bit and I didn't have consistent training facilities. And just in the past like 4 months, I've just been consistently training here and I can see the difference. I can feel the difference. It's night and day and I feel so much more confident up there. I think I have improved so much. So I'm really excited to see like now where this will take me. Um, but what sets me apart? I mean, okay, here's what sets me apart. I'm the only female in the world to do a front arm stand triple with a 1.5 twist, which is a really cool dive, I think. Um, and it's cool that I'm the only one to do this dive.
Is that a lot different? Like jumping off of it backwards or doing it off of a handstand?
Yeah, and actually, so I do for the people that are watching, if this is the platform and this is me in a handstand and here's my head, um, here's my back. I would be, in a handstand, my back facing the water, my front facing the platform. I have to flip that way. So it's quite hard to create a flipping motion that
Oh
direction.
yeah, like you're not turning in,
Yeah,
you're turning out over, so to speak.
yeah. So I have to like create like kind of a kip movement to like get the somersault going. And it's quite hard because, you're in a handstand this way and your wrist hinges don't want to go the other way, like kind of pushing against. Whereas if you do a back handstand, it's like you have the falling momentum with you and you can finish off your hands with the push. So the handstand I'm doing, it's a bit different.
So we have some listener submitted questions.
Okay.
Does anybody ever ask, why are we doing this?
All the time. All the time. And actually, mostly on social media. Like, I just had this video go viral, and the majority of the question is why? Why would you do this? And even like my parents-in-law say, why are you guys still doing this? Get a real job. You know? Um, I think it's the adrenaline. I think is the feeling of accomplishment when you one when you learn these dives, but then two when you are doing these dives regularly and you doing them good, it feels great. Like you leave practice going, that was great. I did good today. This sounds so stupid, but it's the little things that, like the little battles that you overcome daily with yourself, and it can be, I've tried to really like bring it down and make it really simple. Like, okay, today is windy. That kind of sucks for diving, but this can happen in a competition. So let's make the best of it. Let's take this as opportunity to practice in this windy setting. And then you do your dives. They might not be great, but in the end, it's like, okay, we did the dive, we stuck to the plan. And like, I think that's what makes me feel good. Like sticking to the plan and seeing that it's working out.
That
I'm
makes
not sure if
sense.
that completely answered your question as to why, because no, it's not for the money, it's not for the fame, it's not, um, it's purely for myself.
How do different divers look at the high divers? Like, do the 1 meter people look at the high divers differently? Like, who's kind of the cool kid in the diving community?
It's not the cool kid, the crazy ones. I think they definitely think we're crazy. Um, but now that we're training with them, like for example, the ones that we're training with in the pool, like they realize like it's all the same. Like it's the same learning. That's not true. Okay, let me rephrase that. Because I was gonna say it's the same as learning a dive on 1 meter or on 3 meter. It's the same except for exponentially like scarier and overcoming that hump or that feat is that much more rewarding.
How deep does the water have to be to do this? Like, you need this much water.
Um, at least people always ask this. So on the cruise ship, the water is not very deep. It's about 14 feet deep, which is not deep enough. We always hit the bottom. Like every single time we come down and either you like kind of scoop so you don't like go straight down, or you, as soon as you hit the water, kind of tuck. So it like slows you down and you just land in a like a tuck on the bottom and then you push off. But you touch the bottom every single time, which it's okay on the cruise ship. It's 17 meters. You're not doing like super crazy dives. It's okay. 20 meters, like the competition pool, I think it's 6 meters deep. I never touch the bottom. Some people do, some people go all the way down, but I never touch the bottom. So,
What's the highest you jump from?
um, probably 23 meters. So, how many feet?
70. Probably, yeah, like 72, 72, 75 feet.
Yeah, and that was off a cliff. We had to clear a little bit. It wasn't the height that was scary. It was like the shimmy up. We had to put like a little harness on and shimmy up to the spot and then shimmy out of your harness on the little cliff and then do the dive and clear a little bit, like maybe a meter and a half.
But then somebody that goes, super high. Like, I think I looked up the world record was like 192 feet. Is that is that even like the same world in the sense, or is that more Daredevil stuff?
Definitely more Daredevil stuff. And they don't do like the type of dives that we do. They usually either, I think the guy holding the record now, he did a jump, um, or like a reverse flip or something like that. But that's definitely a whole nother round. That's not for me. I'm okay. I'm 20 meters.
What do you think then about kind of, because everybody sees like the YouTube videos and this stuff on social media, people just like launching off high cliffs and stuff like that. Like when you see that kind of stuff, what do you think?
As long as you know what you're doing, and as long as you know, like, inspect the water before. Please inspect the water before, because you don't want to land on something or bottom out and have somebody in the water as a safety. If you don't land good, but if you do all of that, please feel free, like, have a blast, but be careful.
Can you see this?
Yes.
This is
Oh,
crazy to
yeah.
me. That to me, looking at it, looks like you're gonna jump. You're jumping. How far is that from where you're standing to the water? Like,
56 feet. So it's 17 meters. And this was actually right after I had come back from competition. So I hadn't been on the ship in like 2 months. That was my first training dive back. And it's no joke that
oh my
you see I'm
God,
shaking,
dude.
like I do get scared. And, people ask, like, do you still get scared? All the time, all the time. And yeah, that pool, I think is one of the scariest, honestly, in the cliff diving or high diving scenes. Like, because there's, you see the 10-meter underneath of you. You see the little platform like in front of my feet.
Oh, yeah,
So
you
that's 10
can
meters.
really tell the difference when you see the like, oh, that's a lot higher.
Yeah. And then, there's some stuff sticking out. And in the middle, they have like what they call like the center lift, because the floor is like a stage as well. So it moves up and down. And that center lift is actually not all the way down either. So you can't land there. It's, I don't think you're ever, like, people will get close to it. Nobody's landed on it, but it's just a mind game. You have to think of so many things already that when they throw other things in there, it just makes it that much more scary, I guess.
Is any of that kind of camera angle where it makes it look a little bit scarier than it really
Um,
is, or like, no, that's what it looks like?
I know that's what it looks like. The camera is on like zero point 0.5, just so you could see like the whole setting, like so you see the whole pool and everything. Um, but yeah, that's it. Actually, it's just this camera that's on zero point 0.5. The first one I think wasn't. Um,
Wow.
just so you get everything in there.
Is that a pretty, like, for you, is that like, that's a cake dive for me? I can do that in my sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I do in the show. Like, wake me up in the middle of the night. I can do it, no problem. I mean, that was just a slow motion. My front arm stand, I don't even know. I don't think I posted it yet. My new arm stand dive. But yeah, that was one of my new dives as well. It's a front triple with a 1.5 twist. But here you can really see how deep the pool is.
Yeah, you really punch through there, right?
So yeah, and you can see like how everything has to be tight and how fast you go down. I mean, look at that. So
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
close. Like, I think I could touch the, like, wait for it and touch the ground. I just open up,
Do
and
you
that
ever,
slows it down underwater.
so yeah, that's what you're doing on the sides, is like practicing all the
Yeah,
different movements.
yeah, yeah. That's the preparation for the handstand up there. So, but
That's the
that's the tower in Fort Lauderdale. It's a great facility. Like, it's brand new. It's absolutely. I don't know why they don't host like events there every year. It's a no-brainer, because now usually for like a World Cup or World Championship, they build a pool out of scaffolding and like make an above ground pool more or less, with scaffolding and everything, which costs a ton just to set up, whereas this facility is already there. Yeah, so this is the day I learned this dive, and you know, I hurt my elbow doing the preparations for this dive on 10 meter, and I had to have surgery, and that was like less than 2 years ago. So now I did the lead up not on 10 meter. I did the lead up to my feet on 7 meter and skipped that transition. And it finally got this dive off. And it was just, I don't know. I like had so much like fear resistance to this dive. Like, I could tell that I was like had to do like the preparations on 5 meter, even like from 1.5 with a full twist. And I could just tell that I started like, procrastinating and like not wanting to do it. And for sure, those are all signs that I was just scared, push comes to shove. I was scared. And I think one evening I just sat down and like just wrote down what I was scared of, like, and it all came down to like it made no sense to be scared. Yes, I'm scared, but I did all the preparations and you're ready for this. And what is the worst that can happen? Like going through all of it. And I think that helped so much because then the next practice I came in, I had a plan, do your preparations, take it up, and I just stuck to the plan and did it. And I was so excited. Like that was it. It was like breakthrough. But it took probably a good 2 weeks of like real resistance. And I couldn't figure out like this resistance. Like I had to really write it all down and get it out for me to just like work past that, I guess.
Do you think it will become an Olympic sport? Do you think it'll go or
I
not
think
really?
so. I think so. But it's just actually we were really, really hoping it was going to be in the, I mean, a couple of years ago we were excited to think it was going to be in the Paris Olympics. It's not. And then we thought, oh, for sure, LA. And it didn't. Like they put in, I think, flag football and cricket. And guys, no offense to flag football, but that's what you play in elementary school.
That's pretty much all the questions that I had. Is there anything else that you think that we missed, or what's kind of coming up next for you?
What's coming up next? So, season's about to start next month. My first we go to Greece for one of the Red Bull stops. I'm not diving there. So Red Bull's a bit complicated. There's like 8 permanent divers, and then there's 4 wild cards each competition. So my husband got a wild card for the first stop. I'll go to coach and support him as well as train. And then my next competition will be in Boston at, hold on, let me look at the calendar, on the 8th of June. So if you're in Boston, first week of June, come check it out. Red Bull Cliff Diving. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. This season should be good.
When did you start the towel thing?
Oh gosh, probably at least 10 years ago. So while I was in college, I started making like these tie-dye chamois, and then I brought them to the pool, and the kids at the club team were like, "We want to buy one." And so I just started, and then I sold some at some competitions, and it's just grown ever since. And sometimes it's a bit hard to like keep up with it when I'm on the cruise ship because I work on the cruise ship sometimes. Um, but I've managed to keep it up, and it's just growing and growing over the years. So now I do some team chamois. I made the chamois for, so to explain for your audience. So chamois are, if you ever watch diving on TV, they always have this, well, it looks like a car towel. They use it to dry off, so you're not completely dry, but like dry enough to where you don't slip out of your dives if you're doing like a tuck shape or a pike, so you don't slip out, and to stay warm after your dive, so you don't need a towel every time you use that to dry off. Wring it out, use it again. But yeah, so I customize them, I tie dye them, I do like university teams. I did the ones for I'm doing some for the US Olympic trials, and then the British Olympic team is getting them in their Olympic kit. So it's pretty cool.
I did always wonder, like, why are they drying off? You're just going right back in the pool.
Yeah. So I mean it's two ways. Like for sure to kind of keep warm, it helps. And yeah, you want that, you don't want to be too dry. Like think about like grabbing a tuck and being super dry, you could slip out, but also if you're really wet, you slip out. So it's like that moist in between. I know people hate this word, but
They do.
but yeah, it's like when you dry off with like this chamois cloth, it's like the right consistency of like having good grip.